Welcome, crypto fam, to the #1 daily Bitcoin pod. In today's show, I'll be sharing the latest Bitcoin technical analysis, as well as breaking news. Jan 3 Samson Mao just met with the Parliamentary Vice Minister of the Cabinet Office to discuss the potential for Bitcoin in Japan, nation-state adoption around the world, and implications of U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserves. Japan. Let's go. Also breaking news, Senator Cynthia Lummis, General Counsel, says the SEC gave BNY Mellon a variance approval to move forward with Bitcoin and crypto custody. And quoting Max Kaiser, the IMF, while trying to steer countries away from Bitcoin, is secretly buying Bitcoin. An internal memo notes the impending crash of the US dollar and the inevitable bankruptcy of the IMF. I actually shouldn't say these words. Should be avoided, in my opinion. I'll be breaking this down for you. We'll also be taking a look at so many other things, as well as breaking news of Bhutan, 750 million revenue from Bitcoin mining sets, model for developing nations, as well as MicroStrategy raises $1 billion for Bitcoin acquisitions and just made an announcement purchasing 7,420 Bitcoin for $458 million. We'll also be discussing Max Kaiser attacks Michael Saylor for finding fault with El Salvador's Bitcoin strategy and says you owe Nayib Bukele an apology. We'll also be discussing Bitcoin on the cusp of a massive parabolic breakout, according to this analyst, as well as BlackRock prepares for $35 trillion Fed crisis and predicts a Bitcoin boom. In fact, analysts are calling for $600,000. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this, plus so much more, in today's show. Anyways, if you're new to the channel, very important to smash the likes. Go ahead and subscribe. I don't understand. Half the people that watch my stream every day are not subscribed. I mean, what are you doing? And then hit the bell icon, turn on all notifications. Today is pod episode 1763. I'm your host, JV, and it is September 20th, 2024. Let's kick it off with our market watch, as we do each and every day. Pulling up Coin 360, should be appearing on your screen any moment now. Little jet lag. So there you go. Bitcoin finally in the red, but we did surge like $4,000 yesterday. And I think this morning when I woke up, I checked the price, it was 64. So we did tap 64,000 very early this morning. And currently we're just above 62,800, down about 0.5% in the past 24 hours. Ether, Solana in the green, while XRP and Cardano are in the red. And checking out coinmarketcap.com. The current crypto market cap sits at just shy of $2.2 trillion, and the Bitcoin market cap $1.2 trillion. We got roughly 85 billion worth of volume for the past 24 hours. And let's check out the Bitcoin and Ether dominance. Bitcoin dominance 56.8%, Ether dominance back at 14%. The other day it was all the way down to 13.5, which is a multi-year low. And also consider the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart shows Ethereum at about a 44-month low against Bitcoin. And checking out the top 100 crypto gainers in the past 24 hours, we got Su, we got Tao, we got FET. Let me know which alts, if any, you're bullish on for the bull. Holla at your boy. And checking out the crypto bubbles so we can get a visual perspective on a daily. Looks like, I'd say 60% in the green, 40% in the red. A good mixed bag today. And zooming out on the monthly, safe to say, 80% in the green, 20% in the red. And checking out the Crypto Greed and Fear Index today, same as yesterday, we're neutral. Last week was a 32 fear, and last month a 26 in fear. And checking out the time chain calendar, we can see what block we're currently at and how many blocks yet to go into the next halving. We're currently on block 862,153. We got 187,847 blocks to the next halving. Each block is approximately 10 minutes. We're scheduled to have that halving probably sometime around April of 2028. So there you have it, yo. And but here's what we're going to do. Let's continue. Let's dive into today's technical analysis, And we'll also pull up some of the live charts. Welcome, everyone just joining the stream. And salute. Let's get it. So Bitcoin needs a daily close above 63 G's, baby. Right where we're at. To open up the road to new all-time highs, send it. The current all-time high, FYI, is 73.8. We achieve mid-March. We're only a God candle away. Can you feel it? broskies. Bitcoin continues to rebound after the week's macroeconomic events delivered a boost to risk assets, up nearly 8% over the week. Now, Bitcoin's facing a crucial area of resistance, which has kept the market pinned for months. Quoting analysts here, massive level coming up here at 63,000 after a very strong reaction off the demand in the 57,000 area. If we can clear 63 Gs and hold above it on a high time frame closing basis, then considering a high time frame context, we could make a real push towards all-time highs. Send it. The mid 60 G zone is significant because it hosts various trend lines required to function as support. These include the aggregate cost basis for Bitcoin short-term investor cohorts, a level that traditionally accompanies every bull market. And continuing, family office MS2 Capital added that the 200-day simple moving average now coincides with the largest on-chain volume area at 64 Gs. And amongst charts uploaded to X include a comprehensive breakdown of various high time frame resistance levels. Meanwhile, popular trader and analyst Red Capital shows that Bitcoin is already making headway within its multi-month downwards channel. Quoting him here, Bitcoin is breaking the lower high downtrend dating to the late July as we speak. The channel itself means that 67,000 is now a key breakout level, so mark that on your charts, family. 67 Gs, let's go. Time for the breakout. Meanwhile, he calls for a reaccumulation range since the block subsidy halving, which occurred April 19th. Quoting him again, Bitcoin has historically broken out from its reaccumulation range 150 to 160 days after the halving. It's currently 158 days after the halving. It's time. That's what it means. Fourth quarter incoming. We're only 10 days out. You already know things are about to get bullish as a mofo. Before I pull up the charts and other breaking news, shout out Jan 3 Samson Mao. He just met with Mr. Junichi Kanda, the parliamentary vice minister of the cabinet office, discussing the potential of Bitcoin in Japan. Nation state adoption, Dragon Ball Z style. Let's go. That's pretty major. I love what he is doing. Shout out Samson Mao. Hopefully Japan adopts the biddy. In other breaking news, Senator Cynthia Lummis's general counsel says the SEC gave BNY Mellon a variance approval to move forward with Bitcoin custody. That's right, game theory in full effect. And quoting Max Kaiser, the IMF, while trying to steer countries away from Bitcoin, is secretly buying it. An internal memo notes the impending crash of the US dollar and the inevitable bankruptcy of the IMF. I'm not going to read this because the second part, because I try to keep the stream family friendly, but you can sure read it. And shout out Max, I love him. Also, quoting Plan B, creator of the Bitcoin stock level model, the yellow periods are boring. Bitcoin does not move. It's all about the short periods in between 2013, 2017, and 2020, always the year preceding the halving. Those are the fundamental price moves. Don't miss the next move. Amen. And in other breaking news, again, there is a big golf tournament occurring in El Encanto Country Club in El Salvador, January 10th and the 11th, and JV is going to be there, and hope to see you guys there as well if you're going to be joining us. Shout out Max and Stacy. And also, here's some of the live charts. I mean, they're lit as a mofo. Look at this. Let me switch the scene up to make it cleaner for you guys. You should be able to see we do have a rising wedge very clearly. Look how bullish we have been, I mean, over the past few days. We do have a bottom target you need to be aware of, sitting at 59,000. And like I said, we do have a rising wedge formation. Let's zoom out to the 4-hour. Charts are looking pretty lit right now. 4-hour chart, we do have a blue target, which is sitting at 81,000, which would take us to price discovery, new all-time high. And we do have a bottom target to be aware of all the way down at $36,000. Let's check out the daily chart, and then we'll check out the weekly and the monthly. The one-day chart says, dun, dun, dun. We do have a bottom target sitting at 47, but you can see 1, 2, 3 bullish green daily closes, and it looks like a little itty bitty red, but the day is still young. And let's zoom out to the weekly. We should still have that sexy cup and handle pattern at roughly 125. Today it says 124.6. So I believe this is in play for the fourth quarter. I'm very bullish Q4 because historically it's extremely bullish time of the year, especially post-halving. I think historically roughly 80% gains around that ballpark collectively for the 3 months of the fourth quarter. And zooming out on the monthly, let's check it out. Survey says, it's been very sideways. Let's see if we can finally get a green candle close for the month of September, which is rare. But like I said, fourth quarter, October, November, December, I'm anticipating 3 big bullish monthly candle closes, Godzilla style. You already know. But anyways, next story of the day, we got a lot to cover. Let's discuss the Kingdom of Bhutan and their 750 million Bitcoin position. As the headline reads, Bhutan 750 million revenue from oh yeah, that's from Bitcoin mining. So the difference between the United States and Bhutan mined Bitcoin and they got 750 million. United States just confiscates it. That's how they get their Bitcoin holdings. It's crazy. But yeah, the East Himalayan Kingdom of Bhutan in Asia is showcasing a powerful example of how developing nations could leverage the Bitcoin mining to improve their economies and achieve economic growth. September 16th, on-chain analytics platform Arkham claimed it detected and identified the first Bitcoin address of Bhutan's investment arm, Druk Holdings and Investments. And according to Arkham, DHI holds 13,029 Bitty, 656 Ether. Notice they only have 1.5 million in Ether, and they got $750 million in Bitcoin. That speaks volumes, doesn't it, family? They have approximately 780 million in total crypto holdings. Shout out Bhutan. Anyone here from Bhutan? Let me know. This means Bhutan's crypto reserves account for over 27% of its 3 billion 2023 national gross domestic product, according to World Data Bank. Nations worldwide are grappling like, what's his name? Habib Nurmagomedov, like that, with overwhelming debt levels, facing economic strain as borrowing costs rise and fiscal challenges grow. The mounting debt crisis is sparking debates over long-term sustainability of current economic models, especially in the poorer countries relying on external loans. Meanwhile, Mikey Saylor, founder and chairman of MicroStrategy, explained during the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville, Tennessee, how nations, especially those with significant debt, could use Bitcoin to solve their economic problems. He proposed a strategy where indebted countries could reallocate or relocate their treasury reserves from assets like gold and bonds into the Bitty, a long-term digital asset. And by doing so, these countries could leverage Bitcoin's growth potential to pay off debt and possibly achieve economic prosperity. Amen. The World Bank classifies Bhutan, a small Asian nation with limited economic capacity, as a developing country. Countries in this category typically have a gross national income per capita below 14,000. Most countries worldwide are in this category, and many could follow Bhutan's example to address their national debt. Some potential candidates include Paraguay, Venezuela, El Salvador, Argentina, and Kenya. Paraguay has taken steps towards regulating Bitcoin mining in 2024, mainly due to the abundant hydroelectric electricity resources. The country's low electricity costs and favorable climate have made it an attractive destination for crypto miners. Now, we have some guy named Crypto Boy, co-founder of Bitcoin Paraguay, who shared, Paraguay has a unique position in the world because 99% of its energy is hydroelectric. Let's go. Now, Moringo also explained Paraguay's low energy demand cannot absorb all the energy produced by the hydroelectric dams. So the surplus energy eventually ends up being exported to Argentina and Brazil at rock bottom prices. Quoting them here, it is not far-fetched to think that the Paraguayan government could stop selling the surplus and use it to mine Bitcoin, just like Bhutan did. Let's go. And even though Paraguay is the largest power exporter in South America, amongst the 10 largest worldwide, politics and regulation have prevented the country from using its surplus energy in crypto mining. He also pointed out the same political party has ruled Paraguay for over 70 years. He believes the ruling bureaucrats, am I pronouncing that right? Bureaucrats fail to fully understand Paraguay's vast energy potential to build a profitable Bitcoin mining infrastructure. And in 2022, Paraguay's legislator approved the bill to regulate crypto mining to establish clear legal framework for the industry. So as you know, there is adoption. Also in Venezuela, let's discuss it. Energy giant stunted with crypto adoption. Venezuela faced several economic crises, including hyperinflation for the nation and shortages of essential goods in the hood. And many citizens have turned to crypto to protect their earnings from inflation. I mean, look at this rate of inflation. That's just from August 2023 to August 2024 within 1 year. Insane. The country is rich in oil and natural gas, providing a cheap and abundant energy source for electric generation, an important factor for Bitcoin mining's proliferation. Quoting the CEO of crypto asset custody firm Bitcoin Techno, Venezuela shouldn't only try to emulate Bhutan's model, but to surpass it. Let me know if you think it will. And again, El Salvador could also be tapped in on so many levels for stacking the biddies. As we know, they're the first nation to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender. They currently hold almost 6,000 Bitcoin, in which it purchased using treasury funds. The country is also now mining Bitcoin using natural geothermal energy from volcanic activity, but this comprises only a tiny part of its Bitcoin stash. And I think they're going to continue to scale. We also have Argentina and many other countries that have a lot of potential. And I think just across South America, Central America, and the Americas in general, there's a lot of volcanic activity. Also, we have Kenya. We have African countries as well. The new frontier for Bitcoin adoption. So, I mean, we're just getting started. We call this game theory, and I think it is playing out in real time right now. Which nation, state, what do you think will be likely next to adopt the Bitty? Holla at your boy. And welcome everyone just joining the stream. Let's continue with the news. We do got a lot to share. Let's discuss MicroStrategy, eh? MicroStrategy raises over $1 billion for Bitcoin acquisitions. And on top of that, they announced today buying another 7,420 Bitcoin for $458 million. That's the Giga Chad for you. Stacking sats till eternity. MicroStrategy completed approximately $1 billion offering at only a 0.6% convertible senior note due in 2028. How can I get this offer? I want to borrow $1 billion at 0.6%. And then I don't have to pay it back till 2028 when Bitcoin's like $1 million. Sign me up times 10, please. With plans to use a portion of the proceeds for the Bitcoin acquisition, the private offering, which concluded September 19th, target institutional investors enabled the conversion into cash or MicroStrategy stock. The company also plans to use a part of the funds to redeem a $500 million in senior secured notes, releasing collateral, including 69,000 biddies. What a divine omen. I love that number. And on September 20th, according to the latest Form 8K submitted by the MicroStrategy to the US SEC between the 13th and the 19th of September, he wrote, MicroStrategy acquired approximately 7,420 biddies for approximately $458 million in cash using proceeds from the offering at an average price approximately $61,750 per biddy, inclusive of fees and expenses. Let's break down the details, eh? The convertible senior notes are unsecured and carry a 0.6% annual interest rate, payable semi-annually, March 15th and September 15th. And according to the official MicroStrategy press release, the notes will mature in 2027 unless they're converted, redeemed, or repurchased earlier. The publicly traded software firm has set the initial conversion rate at 5.4 shares of Class A common stock per thousand principal amount of the notes. The conversion translates to roughly $183 per share, reflecting a 40% premium over the stock price as of September 17th, and the crowd is going wild. Now for the use of the proceeds. MicroStrategy plans to use and raise approximately $997 million, let's just call it $1 billion, can we, of net proceeds after fees and expenses to fund its aggressive Bitcoin acquisition. You can say that again, aggressive. The remaining funds will be used for general corporate purposes, but will primarily focus on increasing the firm's Bitcoin holdings. Part of the net proceeds will go towards 500 million senior secured notes, which are scheduled for redemption September 26th. They now hold $14.14 billion worth of the Bitcoin. Good Lord. The firm's SEC filing stated the purchase was made at an average price of $60,400. Continued to buy the dip. MicroStrategy CEO Saylor, or I should say co-founder, he's no longer the CEO, announced on X the firm also achieved a Bitcoin yield of 4.4% quarter to the date and 17% year to the date and held 244,800 BTC as of September 12th. And what's crazy is BlackRock already holds more than MicroStrategy, and MicroStrategy was the first publicly traded company to put the biddy on the balance sheet, and that was all the way back in 2020. Keeping in mind, BlackRock now has 21 billion worth of volume since January 11th. It's pretty mind-boggling. But yeah, here's the latest. Headline reads, Max Kaiser attacks Michael Saylor for finding fault with El Salvador's Bitcoin strategy and says you owe Nayib Bukele an apology. Let's break it down. Here we go. Staunch Bitcoin advocate Max Kaiser slammed MicroStrategy Inc. MSTR co-founder Saylor for casting aspirations on the Bitcoin strategy adopted by Nayib Bukele's led Salvadoran administration. What happened? Kaiser took to X on Thursday to respond to Saylor's broader argument. And this all started on the Bitcoin podcast with Saifedean Ammous, the Bitcoin Standard podcast. I don't know if you saw it, but it was basically Michael Saylor was on, and they had a little bit of a little controversy. And I reposted that the other day. We discussed it, but here's the latest with the saga. During the interaction with Saifedean Ammous, the author of the famous book, The Bitcoin Standard, how many of you read that book? Let me know. It was the first Bitcoin book I read. Saylor asserted El Salvador would eventually have to liquidate their Bitcoin stash to pay their expenses if they don't get any yield on it. Now, I put the question to you. What's the point of El Salvador or your family accumulating all your capital in Bitcoin if you expect zero yield forever and you are never going to borrow against it? The Bitcoin billionaire added. Now, Kaiser, who serves as the senior Bitcoin advisor to El Salvador's President Bukele, did not take these observations well. Quoting him here, Michael Saylor is unequivocally wrong while slandering El Salvador. El Salvador is reducing debt and growing the GDP without exposing El Salvador to the counterparty risks that Saylor is exposing his shareholders to. Now, I know exactly what he's talking about because I once borrowed against my Bitcoin and I had extreme counterparty risks, and things actually worked the opposite of what I intended to do. And it wasn't good. So there's absolutely risk involved with selling or borrowing against your Bitcoin versus hodling, and you need to be aware of that. I know from firsthand experience. But anyways, let's continue. Why it matters. Kaiser's fiery response was noteworthy given his endorsement of Saylor's Bitcoin strategy in the past. In January, Kaiser credited Saylor for taking Bitcoin out of the shitcoin gutter and setting the stage for the Bitcoin ETF approvals, which is true. Here's the receipt for that. January 11th, that was the day the ETFs went live here in the States. Shout out to Saylor, who took Bitcoin out of the shitcoin gutter and set the stage for today's ETF approval. Then just last month, he heaped praise to MicroStrategy stock, underscoring its limitless growth potential, as he shares here. There are still people who are financiers for decades who still don't understand what MicroStrategy is doing and that the stock literally has no top. Now, El Salvador has doubled down on Bitcoin ever since adopting the world's largest digital currency as legal tender in 2021. The country adopted a plan to buy 1 Bitcoin per day until it becomes unaffordable with fiat currency. And at this time, they currently hold 5,878 Bitcoin. Now for some more recent posts from Max. So Willy Woo wrote, Grok, I don't know if it's Grok or Grok, but the AI here on X is correct. El Salvador doesn't need to sell their Bitcoins in order to get benefit from its stack. And then Max Kaiser responded, Saylor's comments, El Salvador needing to sell Bitcoin are written by someone other than Saylor. You are not free if you have to voice US and IMF propaganda talking points, Michael. To be a true Bitcoiner, you need to get the hell out of the swamp and move to El Salvador. And let's dive deeper into the Willy Woo Grok thing. Does El Salvador need to sell Bitcoin in order to get a benefit? Here's what Grok wrote, the AI. Based on the info available up till September 2024, El Salvador does not necessarily need to sell its Bitcoin to benefit from its gains. Here are several of the ways El Salvador can or has benefited from the Bitcoin investment without necessarily selling. Number 1, unrealized profits. Number 2, economic stability and publicity. Number 3, investment financial products. Number 5, citizen by investment. Number 6, mining and other revenue. And number 7, strengthening of economic position. So there you have it, yo. Let me know if you guys actually caught the pod with Cypher and Mikey Saylor, and what are your thoughts? Chime in. Let me know. Holla at your boy. I'll read your comments out loud. Welcome everyone to join the stream. Let's motherfucking go. Now let's discuss the Parabolic Runup, according to this analyst, and then we'll discuss the latest from BlackRock, as well as some bullishness, 600,000 prediction, and then we'll dive into some live Q&A. Welcome everyone just joining the live stream. The headline here reads, Bitcoin on the cusp of a breakout into parabolic phase. Here's the timeline. That's right. We have an analyst known as Rec Capital. He shared with his 88,000 subs that Bitcoin's on the cusp of a breakout into the parabolic phase after spending the past few months in a reaccumulation phase. According to Rec, Bitcoin's parabolic phase lasts a predictable amount of time in every cycle, quoting him here. So if we just see that 160 days after the halving is how long this reaccumulation phase lasts, and we tend to see the bull market peak 550 days after the halving, then this parabolic phase should last 390 days. Let's go! Or even 400 days, even sexier. So it is roughly a year of parabolic upside that we see going into the bull market peak. And if that continues, indeed, mid-September of next year, 1 year from now, mid-October 2025, is when we could see the bull market peak occur for the Bitcoin. Let me know if you agree. I do agree it will happen sometime in 2025. It could happen in the third or fourth quarter, but it could also even happen earlier. It could happen in the first or second quarter. I don't know, but I am confident it'll happen in 2025 just because of the previous cycles and what history has shown us. The analyst says that based on historical precedent, Bitcoin could hit the new all-time high over the coming days. And I agree. We typically have a 10-day run-up, and we can easily smash a God candle of 10,000 in 10 days. Easy peasy. We could do it in 1 day. We've done it before. But we will reverse towards the upside at some point. And that point is coming quite soon because 160 days after the halving is when we see the breakout to new highs. And we're currently 151 days in. So can you say bullish leading into October? Let me know your thoughts, fam. Holla at your boy. Now for our feature story of the day, fam. BlackRock prepares for a 35 trillion Fed crisis. In fact, they even just released a Bitcoin white paper the other day. Extremely bullish. I'm going to be reading some of the highlights of this report for you. We'll also be discussing a $600,000 bullish Bitcoin price target, and then we'll dive into our live Q&A. Welcome everyone joining the stream. You can see the headline here. BlackRock prepares 35 trillion Fed crisis, predicting a Bitcoin price boom shakalaka. And as Eric Balchunas, ETF analyst, shared here, BlackRock just put out a 9-page white paper that makes the case for Bitcoin ETF as a unique diversifier that can hedge against the fiscal, monetary, and geopolitical risks. Also include a section called the Bitcoin Path to a 1 trillion market cap. Read the whole thing, and I mean, this is what it looks like. We can kind of go through it it, but I'm going to be giving you some of the highlights. Also, check the show notes below the video in the description. I also link the resources of what I'm using on the show. Another headline from earlier in the year, BlackRock's global allocation fund iSpot Bitcoin ETFs expects institutional uptake to drive the Bitcoin price to 600 G's, baby. You feel me? So here we go. And employee of the month, I'm going to give it to Larry Fink and Michael Saylor. Thank you, guys. It feels good to front run the two of you, and thank you for doing a fantastic job. It was a historic week as the U.S. Fed cut interest rates for the first time since 2020. They cut it 0.5 point, and that's obviously very bullish for risk on assets, ending its longest streak of rate hikes in a decade. While some say the move will improve the country's well-being, BlackRock revealed it anticipates a crisis for the U.S. debt spirals, and Bitcoin could be the safe haven. No, Bitcoin is thyself safe haven, yo. BlackRock revealed in a recent paper to investors that the rising debt is creating growing concerns with investors. You got planning to do, Lucy. The paper, titled Bitcoin, a Unique Diversifier, and authored by Chief Investment Officer Samara Cohen and two of her colleagues, proposed the BITI as one of the most viable alternative investments. And this is quoting BlackRock's actual report. The growing concerns in the United States of America and abroad over the state of the U.S. federal deficits and debt has increased the appeal of potential alternative reserve assets as a potential hedge against possible future events affecting the U.S. dollar. So with the entry of the likes of the BlackRock and Fidelity into the Bitcoin sector through their spot Bitcoin ETF, the top token, the one and only King Crypto, the undisputed champion of the world, has become more intertwined with traditional finance. This has resulted in questions on whether crypto is still a risk-off asset and a viable hedge against the other assets. It's all going to zero against the Bitcoin. BlackRock laid these concerns to rest, noting the following: Bitcoin's long-term correlation to equities and bonds have been low, and its long-term historical returns has been vastly higher than all the other major asset classes over extended time horizons. We believe Bitcoin's adoption drivers are likely to be distinct from, and in some cases inverted with, the global macro factors that drive most traditional financial assets. And now Bitcoin is a unique diversifier, hence the title of the report. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager with $10 trillion in assets under management, higher than the GDPs of all but two countries globally, and that's only the United States of America and China. That makes this the most authoritative voice in the financial world. Some would say the most powerful organization in the world. And the importance of its backing of Bitcoin can't be overstated. It hasn't always been this way. CEO Lawrence Fink, go get your shine box, has called Bitcoin an index of money laundering in the past, before changing his mind and calling it the digital gold of this year. Kind of sounds similar to the old sentiment of Jamie Dimon.
Bitcoin, etc. You pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers,
anti-money laundering, tax avoidance. But I digress. Thank you, Jamie Dimon. Quoting them again. As the global investment community grapples rising geopolitical tensions concerning the state of the U.S. debts and deficits, the increased political instability around the world, Bitcoin may be seen an increasingly unique diversified asset against some of these fiscal, monetary, and geopolitical risk factors investors may face elsewhere in their portfolios. So there you go, yo. And you already know Bitcoin bounced back. And with a 1 trillion, what is it? Today it's at a 1.2 trillion market cap. We have massive potential. I believe BlackRock recommended a 84.9% Bitcoin allocation in one of their reports a couple of years back. I've covered this on the podcast numerous times, and you run the math. If asset managers were to go from 1% allocation to a whopping 84.9%, game on, like Donkey Kong. You feel me? Things are about to get lit. So you already know. Welcome, family, and anyone just joining the stream. This is the Q&A segment of the live pod. Let me know your thoughts. 35.5 trillion in national debt grows 1 trillion every 100 days. Damn, you cannot debase or ever repay that. There you go.